Today, we're ending our journey through the Apostle Paul's letter to the Philippians. If you've been around for it all, you have heard three different voices touching on the major themes of the God-centered joy Paul found in his relationship with the church in Philippi. You've also had an opportunity to join in small group discussions and take your bulletin home to continue the joy work during these weeks. Today, our goal is to turn to the how-to for us, the practical application of choosing joy in our lives. Your joy plan, we're calling it. I can't say that I've done a lot of preaching with such a specific focus before, but it's an interesting aim. Some of us may be very open to this idea of choosing joy right now. It may be an answer to a calling from somewhere inside, that inner voice that says, yes, let's choose joy now. Or it may be a recent experience of an external event, a change, a loss, or a gain, directing you to choose joy now. I realize also that others may be walking into this conversation for the first time today, and you had no idea you were going to be confronted with choosing your joy plan. So we'll need to catch you up, ease you into that mind space. And there are others who may have participated in this choosing joy journey, but it hasn't set right. It doesn't feel right. What might I say to you? Well, first, that is an acceptable response. If it's not the right time, it's not the right time. But still, there's a possibility for joy, so let's not close and lock any doors yet. So for everyone across this spectrum, here's the story of two couples. Both are empty nesters who prepared for their retirement. The first couple were very, very good at making money. They invested and they saved and they negotiated many good deals. They retired, owning lots of land and have wealth and fully diversified portfolios, whatever that means. I don't know, actually. On one of their farm properties, they tore down a century-year-old house and they built a new place with all the modern amenities. Their home included a formal room of valued treasures that they had collected. It was for admiring, not using or even touching. They worked very hard on a large, productive garden that they ate from all summer. The rest of the food, the fruits and vegetables, they canned and they stored safely in their cellar. Approaching their place in the summer was like driving up to an emerald island surrounded by acres of corn and soybeans. And every fall, those fields produced crops valued in the millions of dollars. The other couple shared a life in ministry. They applied their life savings to a 100-year-old house in a poor neighborhood in a small Midwestern city. And honestly, the white middle-class Presbyterians that they had served for 40 years had abandoned that neighborhood decades before. Loud arguments were common. Shots could be heard. The police were often on the streets at night. The helicopter would fly over with the searchlights over their backyards and alleys. This couple planted their entire backyard as a vegetable garden, and the entire front yard as a strawberry patch. They don't own a lawnmower. In the narrow side yards between the neighboring houses, they constructed a do-it-yourself rainwater collection and purification system for their fruits and vegetables. They ate from what they grew and shared the rest with their neighbors and their friends, especially people that they knew were in need. They often had guests for dinner, and those guests often spent the night. The home was furnished with a mishmash of hand-me-down chairs and rockers and sofas with throws and pillows, all for comfort. So obviously these two couples took very different paths in forming and filling their containers for life. And I'm using here the language of Father Richard Rohr, who is the founder of the Center for Action and Contemplation, cac.org, if you want to see what they're up to, cac.org. I'm not passing any judgment on how each couple constructed and filled their life containers. I know nothing about how to gain wealth. I truly appreciate those with the acumen to do so. I admire dedication to ministry as well, and I know that path is filled with pitfalls and stumbling blocks. I believe with all my heart that Jesus would enter both of these homes and break bread at both tables. The question comes with each household's choice as they go forward with this container that they've built. Now, each is trending in different directions, but each continues to have choices. Will they continue to accumulate, or will they stagnate? Will they give away and share their wealth and their wisdom? Will they isolate, or will they grow newer and deeper relationships? Will they contribute to the well-being of others? Will they hold on only for themselves? Will they live in the smallness of fear of what they might lose? Or will they let go and live in resurrection hope, knowing that there is nothing to fear? Bill Plotkin describes one choice as the survival dance, and the other choice as the sacred dance. Both dances will give moments of happiness and pleasure. Many believe that the goal of life is survival and don't move on. But it is the sacred dance that offers enduring joy. Now, my theology of joy is founded on the amazing work of C.S. Lewis. For him, joy is a resilient and enduring desire that distinguishes joy from happiness and pleasure. He says both of those are the short term, the fleeting, the things that come and go. But joy is eternal and a deep yearning of the soul. He says it's like a nostalgia that we feel when we see or hear or taste something from our past. That feeling that we have, except joy is cast forward, not back. He defines joy as an unsatisfied desire, which itself is more desirable than any satisfaction. He maintains that God plants such desire in us so that we will desire God. So when we think something will bring us true and lasting joy, but it turns out to be fleeting, disappointing, we should consider that to have a hole through it. And through that hole, we can see our deepest, truest desires and longing, which is the hope and the love of being with God. That is joy. In his novel, The Great Divorce, Lewis portrays hell or purgatory, he doesn't distinguish, as a place where the souls of the dead can have everything they want. That means, though, that they cannot have any relationships because every soul is focused only on selfish desire. They are souls of bitterness, skepticism, pessimism, sarcasm, judging, and shaming. What they share, all they share, is a dark and dreary atmosphere of joylessness. Divorced from that dismal place, the joy of bright heaven's shore is totally based on building and binding and bettering relationships. Letting go of the false, letting go of the ego-based container, and becoming the ultimate solid reality of self that God intends for us to be. Loving in relationship, living in community. The theology here is that relationship and community are the essence of the perfect union of God's own self. And so relationship and community are God's will and desire for us and all creation. The Great Divorce is a wonderful fiction about the afterlife, but it is actually about this life. And if anyone would like to get together and read The Great Divorce, let me know. Maybe we can get a group and read that. If you haven't yet, especially, we should. The joy Lewis describes, the joy that we're seeking, that we're choosing, is in this life. It begins and it is available in this life. Such was Paul's experience as he shows us in his letter of thanksgiving and joy for what he received from his God-centered relationship, the communion with the church in Philippi. He writes near the end of the letter, I'm reading here from Philippians chapter 4, beginning at verse 10, just a couple of verses. He writes, I rejoice in the Lord greatly that now at last you have revived your concern for me. Indeed, you were concerned for me, but had no opportunity to show it. Not that I'm referring to being in need, for I have learned to be content with whatever I have. I know what it is to have little, and I know what it is to have plenty. In any and all circumstances, I have learned the secret of being well-fed and of going hungry, of having plenty and of being in need. I can do all things through him who strengthens me. That translation work is actually really difficult. What we're probably reading here is the delicate ways of expressing thanks in that cultural context, which is different from ours. So I want to share it again from Eugene Peterson's The Message. I think it's helpful. I'm glad in God, far happier than you would ever guess. Happy that you're again showing some strong concern for me. Not that you ever quit praying or thinking about me. You just didn't have a chance to show it. Actually, I don't have a sense of needing anything personally. I've learned by now to be quite content, whatever my circumstances. I'm just as happy with little as with much as with little. I found the recipe for being happy, whether full or hungry, hands full or hands empty. Whatever I have, wherever I am, I can make it through anything in the one who makes me who I am. Oh, I think we can easily find there how Paul actively held and appreciated everything in life, that he held all things as being lovely. He found worth in everything. He reminds us that the purposeful acknowledgement of joy is the sign of joy in our lives, if that's what we're doing. Let's remember the little prayer we used at our call to worship. A joy-filled life is reflected in our ability to receive the gifts of doing things like stopping to see butterflies, those small things in life. Such is how we can take a measure of our choice for joy every day, every hour. And let's take a moment also to acknowledge Paul's ability to express his joy. Even as he was imprisoned by the Romans and opposed by the church for his work, still here is his openness to joy that is unexpected, not owed. And let's appreciate for ourselves how remembering, reliving, expressing joy increases our capacity for present joy in any circumstances. The choice for joy that Paul leads us to is found in our openness, our surrender, our trust, in our loving, giving, sacrificing God, and the loving, giving, sacrificial relationships God puts in our lives. To the one who is our joy, be all praise and glory and honor forever. Amen.